the day I waited for quite a while. We are ready to put that 650 graphic on the side of the fairing. The arrows have been drying overnight. Should be able to pull all the backmasking off, and this should be a relatively simple but very time-consuming job because I want those stencils to be perfect, and I may have to make 2 or 3 before I get myself in gear and get that I'm happy with them. This is the first time we're using that material that we got from Michaels, so we may learn something along the way, and hopefully we'll be able to pass something along. Now, some of the restorations that I've done, the paintwork has been relatively complex, and then there's the ultimate one when we did the FCR. Of course, that was really complex. That was an over-the-top paint job, and that was literally hundreds of hours of taping and making patterns and making sure they're symmetrical. And the graphics, the FCR that John Pothier came up with, every one of them, every one of these restorations is different, and that's what makes them challenging. And fun. A lot of fun, in fact. And if you're not having fun restoring motorcycles, nobody's going to hate you. I understand. It's dirty work. It's complicated work. And it puts you to the test. It challenges you. And if you're not up for a challenge, nobody's going to be mad at you if you just do something else that's a lot easier. But this is difficult. And it's like Kennedy said, we don't go to the moon. We don't restore motorcycles because it's easy. We restore them because it's hard. Thank you, John Kennedy. Now, anytime I'm using a new material, which is I haven't used yet, I'm always very cautious. I like to go slowly, and I know that there's a learning curve, and I know there'll always be something I can pass on, no matter what. And if you're looking to do a really complex job or simple job, or just repaint back to stock specifications, you probably could learn something from my set of videos. And one of the things we're going to have to work around today, of course, every day we have stuff to work around. It's still drizzling, it's foggy, and the humidity is just unbelievable. So if we do paint at all, we're going to have to paint right in the doorway of the cellar. And no great surprise, another day of waiting for Treezilla. He just keeps leaning and leaning and leaning. And look, if he goes into my garage, it'll be Garagezilla. And what could be better than after a nice cup of coffee, feeding the birds, checking that the fish are all okay, come and check our parts. These are going to be ready for a sand out in a day or two. The dashboard, drying under a heating vent again. Give that another couple days and we'll put the final finish on that. The nose piece, this is ready for final finishing. And all our other parts that are already buffed, they buffed up like a mirror. It's unbelievable. But for people that don't realize how much goes into this quality level of a restoration, it's a lot of work. We're on our second bench, in fact. Here we are almost 2 months into this, and we've got parts up by the heating vent drying. In fact, these are ready. These parts right here, by sitting up by the heating vent overnight, they are ready to pull the backmasking off. Now, the thing that's always challenging about doing this kind of trim is to get that razor edge, and I hope we do get it. And a good part of it is to get the actual backmasking that's on there to come off nice and crisp and clean. Now, this is not the edge. And I still want to take it off nice and slow. I don't want to do any damage I don't have to this. It's just going to be a little time consuming, and I know. And when I'm using, again, any new material, I don't want to just go diving into it. I think this is going to work out okay, but it actually is this is the first time I've used this material that we've gotten from Michaels, and we've done this little test that looks fine. We're going to find out today. Now see, when I get to the very end here, I want these two to come up at the same time into that point. So this is what we're looking for. We have nice crisp edges. In fact, these are the best edges of the whole project so far. And I'm not going to be tempted. I could hit these with a credit card on a 45-degree angle if they were any bigger, but I think they're fine just the way they are now. It's just easier right now to bury them in clear. I think that's going to be just fine. Now, not long ago I did this time-consuming test on a piece of glass. And what I did, I laid out tape and then painted it, and then pulled up the tape after 1 hour, after 2 hours, 3 hours, and then midnight, and then in the morning. And to be honest, it really didn't make a lot of difference. But I am just an old school guy, and I like milk and milk bottles. So you could also think of it this way: if you're doing this trying to make money, well, maybe you want to pull that tape a lot quicker. But in my case, I just prefer letting it all sit overnight. Alright, so that's one down and one to go. And then we'll be ready to start cutting our templating. But because of having a pattern for everything, and because I have a pretty good preview of what this would look like, I think that's going to be just fine. Now, laying out the 650, I'm kind of glad I did this in 2 days, in 2 steps, because it's going to be a little more complicated than what it looks like, and I want those patterns. I want to get familiar with that material before I start using it. To be honest, I try never to rush pulling up the backmasking. You can get yourself in so much trouble so quick. And I'm always tempted. I learned a valuable lesson one time. This is a true thing. I had a part like this, and I was kind of one of these things, I was in a rush to do it. I put it out in a cold garage overnight. Came in the house and, I don't need to pull the heat up. And when I pulled up the thing, I pulled a big chunk right down to the primer. And I said, oh, this is your best friend when you're pulling up any tape, your best friend. Now what I'm trying to do is look to see that they're very symmetrical. Everything, even though you don't see these two at the same time, that they are symmetrical. And I think we are well within the range that's really going to be nice. Now just to look back at our test that we tried, and this is a material that you can buy in Michael's called Oracal. And it has a very reasonable stickiness to it. Now the reason for that is, of course, we want to be able to pull it up when we're all done. We want to just make a mask out of this. And I've got a bunch of brand new number 11 blades. And I want to see. I have 3 sheets to work with, and of course we live right near Michael's, so I could run down and buy. If I screw this up enough times, I'll run down and buy more. Boy, this is really difficult to get an edge on because of the way it's made. But now when I did the original test, it looked like this was going to work out okay. Here we go. You got to be persistent. Now, this has just enough stick. It sticks and it's thin. The thicker you make the material, the rougher that edge is going to be. And because it's vinyl, if you do it with paper, it's going to have hair on it. And this is the material of choice. Now, what we decided was, and John basically made all the critical decisions here, that you couldn't reasonably put this in a printer. Even though he had some material you could print, and this is printed. But the problem is, at least I found it to be, and want to back this up, I don't know what material this was, and this was really sticky. I'm afraid once you put that down, if there's a wrinkle in it, or if you get something in the wrong spot. So this will be our fallback if all else fails. We need to get 2 sets of these. And here's just a typical, I guess we could call it a typical thing that we have to do. But now, the thing is, I want to take some contact cement, some very light contact cement, and just put a sprinkling of it on, a little spritz, so that stays in place while I'm working on it. Now, there's nothing special about this glue, and we're still actually in the experimenting stage. It's something you can buy in Staples or anywhere. And number 11 X-Acto blades. So the trick is, I want to put just enough of that material on. I'll take this out, lay it upside down, just put enough that it holds it in place. I don't want to glue it. I want it to just be just like a fog on there. And if it moves, of course, that's why I have 3 sheets. And that's why we're going to experiment today. We're not going to rush through. If we don't finish this today, we'll finish it tomorrow. But I do want to get it as good as I can. Again, first time we're using this Oracal material. Well, that glue is just tacky, and I don't need it to dry. I'm not trying to make a permanent bond here. I want just enough stickiness that I can lay this out. Leave a little extra material. Lay that out and press it down. Give that a minute or two to dry, and then I've got to put a brand new blade in here, brand new number 11 blade, and I'm going to try to cut the whole thing by hand. Now, it would be wonderful if if you could have some laser cutter to do this, but we're really going to try to do this by hand, and we're going to see. Now, but the final thing, the nuclear option here is very simple. We have some special black pens that John had contributed to the program, that if we get a little glitch in the edge or something that I'm not happy with, we can take a ruler and a pen, just like you do in modeling, and because it's black, we'll be able to correct that edge, I hope, easily. Now, this is something you can buy from Brodak.com or Michael's, anywhere. There'll be a cutting pad. What a cutting pad is you take a knife and you cut it, and it doesn't destroy the blade, and it heals back up. So a cutting pad is really handy to have, because I don't want to destroy a $20 worth of blades here, and I want it to stay razor sharp, because I'm going to be doing this by hand. So what I want to do is, by making just a piece that I can tape down to the cutting pad, it'll just make this a little bit easier. Again, we have 3 sheets. And the nice thing is, these files I can print off as I need them from John. By making a picture frame here, I think this will just make it a little bit easier. Oh, we're going to find out. Now, the way this works, if we had all straight lines, well, we'd use that little plastic ruler. But since we don't have, for all purposes, we don't have any straight lines, what I'm going to try to do is just very carefully. And of course, my eyesight is not real good. I'm cutting through the paper and the vinyl at the same time, trying to be very accurate. And John was able to print these. I was able to print them on my printer in various line thicknesses, and I think the thinnest line possible for me seemed to work the best. And having it attached to this pad seems to be, well, we're going to find out. But I'm in this, I guess the learning curve is the right way to put this. And I'm willing to spend, I don't care if I have to spend several days doing this. I'll see what works for me. Maybe it's something that'll work for you, and it'll be worth passing on, I don't know. But when you have curves, the compromise of doing curves is you've got to get to the corner and just kind of twist this in your finger. It takes a little practice. Now, if we were able to print decals in exactly this color gold, which would be impossible, I don't even know if a professional place could do that, but can't do it on the equipment that we have available, well, that would have made this part of the job a little easier. And the word Kawasaki, and of course some people would say, well, just make the Kawasaki a different color or something, but part of my concept for this project is I would really like to have that Kawasaki and this logo to be exactly the right color gold, exactly. So it's not left to anybody's imagination. Did he really want that gold or not? Now see, when you pull this up, here's what's going to happen, and I know this is going to happen, is there's always a little spot in a corner or somewhere where you have to go back over it. That looks okay. I'm not getting too, I'm only going to do one letter on camera here, because otherwise you'll fall asleep. And it looks like, well, for the first one out of the chute, as this project goes on, I'll get better and better at doing this for sure. Okay, we got the first one out of out of the part, and there we are. Of course, we got to cut the little piece of the R out, and so that's the first one. I'll cut the rest of these off camera and then have another cup of coffee. So the cutting part of this actually went pretty good. Now I'm not sure, this is the part I have to make a decision on, if I want to pull that paper off now or after I push it down in place. Now I guess I could figure this out. I guess I could screw one up. This actually went pretty good. I can take this off. Let's just see if this is going to work the way I want. It's not really going to work the way I want. I want the gold. Well, let's see. I was wondering if I was going to be able to do this. Is leave the gold down. Let's see. I'm not sure this is going to work. I might have put just a little bit too much glue on that spray cement. I don't think I needed to put that much on. In fact, I was trying not to do this because it'll dry the glue out, but maybe this is the only solution. Again, we are in the learning curve, and by pulling this up nice and slow, yeah, the heat lets this release. The contact cement that Elmer's glue releases with heat, just like everything like this does. The idea of this whole thing is not to get overly aggressive glue involved in this system, because all this stuff has to get pulled up eventually. This looks like, looks like we're going to be okay. It looks like heat, as always, heat is our friend. But I wanted to show this in real time, even though I'm sure there's people snoozing already, but because once you see this, then I think you can figure out if this would be part of your project. And I know this would work for sure on anything you want to do your own custom. Now see, this matches exactly the tail logo of the bike. That's where John got the font from. So we have a cool little thing that I guess not many people will notice right away. I want to do this without ripping the vinyl here. This is going to be tricky. This is where practice comes in. I will know in the future, the next one, that this will be the tricky one right here. To get this to come up the way I want, this is going to be the tricky part. And if I get this to come up, yeah, let's see. Let's see, it's my lucky day here. And did this come up? If this comes up, oh boy. Stuff is so delicate. It's not like doing sheetrock work. Okay, now we got a couple of wrinkles in it, but I think overall we can get this to go right back to where it should be, because this is not an aggressive kind of glue. That went right back. Okay, let's see if this one will go right back too. Now we don't, now the whole thing is we don't want to put this on and then wait 2 weeks to spray the gold. I want to put this on and immediately, it's raining out there now, so I'm going to have to do it in the cellar, but immediately get the gold on. Now pressing this back with as few wrinkles as possible. And this might be easier said than done. This needs to go this way. You can figure out ahead of time what the problem really is here. And let's see. But that's why you experiment. Okay, so if we pull this up, this is a lot like getting the wrinkles out of a seat when we recover a seat. Okay, and we want to get that one out. And it seems like this material has just the right amount of stickiness, overall stickiness. But again, we'll know more once this is up and I can get that wrinkle out. Work that one down that way. And I'm working from the middle out and work that way.
Now I've got to get this one out. Tricky. I'm hoping that I can do this without tearing it. I'll be very happy if that's the case. We're going to find out. Okay, it looks like we have basically all the wrinkles out. Exactly what would happen, and I mean exactly, if we were doing a seat cover. So there you have that much of it. Now I don't have the little pieces, of course. That looks like that'll be totally acceptable. Now, the way I did this the first time, again, I'm trying to do it in real time, is I took some blue tape, rubbed it up on my shirt a few times. Do not want it to be overly sticky, of course. Want to try to get this to go right down in one shot if we can. Would be very nice. I won't know till I turn it over if that's the case. What the blue tape does is hold it in position, and John had given me some other kind of tape that might have been appropriate, and we didn't. If this doesn't work, we'll go to plan B. Okay, now you get to see if it's your lucky day. You pull this up. Let's get rid of this. We don't need this. And this is certainly a super, super delicate at this time. How do I get this up? Okay, we're only going to do this in real time once to avoid people falling asleep. So let's see if we pull this up. And now we have that piece done. And I'm just using my basic finger here. Now this is going to be a critical thing, is the top of this lines up with the motorcycle. So the next thing is I want to get an accurate line on here that'll be parallel. Actually, it's pretty, there's a better way to do it. There's always a better way to do it. I don't want this tape on there. This is just to do an alignment, because I'm aligning this off the top. Now that'll give me the alignment I want. Oh, my old days of being a draftsman. Oh, I used to love drafting class. Oh my God. I still can print, by the way, drafting print after all these years. A skill in high demand in industry. Okay, now we can take this piece off. And now, we don't care about the bottom because that's it. This will be our alignment for the top. And we are basically ready to stick that on the motorcycle. So let me clean off the bench here, get a fresh towel, get it all cleaned up, save the little pieces, and see if it's our lucky day. I just want to do a basic, let's see where this is going to go. This needs to go as, I need to know how far back that's going to go. I need to know. I wanted it over here. So now that'll be tricky. No, we're parallel. We're parallel, so I guess we're going to figure this out. What I'm going to do, because I want to make sure before I do this that I'm exactly parallel to the top. In other words, I don't want this to be like that or that. So I'll go back to the cutting pad and make an exact parallel line on the bottom of this lettering, and then that lettering is going to line up right exactly there. And we will be right, it's exactly the right length. And John adjusted this lettering to within a couple of thousandths, so this should really, yeah, I've got to put a parallel line. I don't know what I was thinking, that I need to put it on the top. I need it on the bottom. See, these are the kind of things, when you do it the first time, the second time, what the hell is that anyway? Like a duck. So we have that piece of tape that should give us a perfect parallel line to work off. Now I would not want to use the blue vinyl tape anywhere on this project, because what happens with blue vinyl tape, it stretches. The blue masking tape doesn't stretch, or it stretches less, I should say. So that now is our parallel line. Perfect. That's as good as it's going to get. Now the trick here is I'm going to be very careful about peeling the backing off of this. Once I peel the backing, I can drop that right in position. And so this is why you need to have the blue tape to hold this piece from getting too wiggly and squiggly. And this is the critical part right there. But now the glue is not that sticky, so it comes off a lot easier. Now, I'm not sure you could leave this overnight and still get a nice crisp edge. I'm not sure. I don't want to put it to the test. I've got a parallel line. I put a dead stop to where I want that to end, and where I want it to end up here. Leave it up a little bit. And right there, that's it. Like it or not, we're a 1/4 inch up. This gets pressed down. This we're done with now. So I apologize that so many of these things in real time take time, but I know if you truly want to do this, whether it's on a model plane or whatever. The nice thing about this, the sheet of gold is $1, the masking tape is free, the contact cement is no real money at all. So that then is a selling feature of this. There's no trip to the vinyl store where they charge you, I don't know how much, but I know they don't do it for free. And now this will be the critical thing, is to very carefully pull this off. And then we have to cut those little pieces and insert them. And we have an exact match to the lettering that's molded into the tail section of the bike. That I think that's a little touch not many people are going to notice right away, but they're going to notice it at some point in time. And the main thing is I'm going to notice it. Now see, I knew this was going to be a little bit of an issue. The piece on the 5, okay. All right, oh, we got it, okay. Go slow, go slow. How's this 6 going to be? Now we're going to pull that 6 up. No. Press all these edges down. I'll cut those little pieces in the center out. And then of course we got to back, before I paint this, I've got to back mask the whole thing, and I think that really is in the right spot. It's big enough. I didn't want it to be that big. I didn't want it to take up the whole thing. And I think this is going to open the door to us being able to do this on the gas tank with the word Kawasaki. Now I know this is going to be a little trickier than what I originally thought. And that's why I'm glad we have plenty of this material in case, well, the first part worked perfect, in fact. Now, I don't know how the edges of this are going to come out until tomorrow, because it's going to sit up by a heating vent overnight. That's just the way it is. And getting these little pieces in place, back masking, we're coming down a home stretch where I'm going to see one of the, at least today, I'm going to see one of these parts done. And that may be all we'll get done today. This really took time. You don't see it on a video, but I don't think realistically I'm going to get 2 of these done in one day, but that's besides the point. Okay, so I have that piece. Now I'll do the rest of these. I got to get the O and I got to get the R. I don't need the 6. I don't need the 5. And then I'll be ready. I'm going to try to put these right on the end of the knife and do it that way. See how that works. Now for sure, this is the trickiest part of the whole job, and I think there's a better way to do this, which we're going to explore very soon. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, but I guess we're going to find out. What I'm doing, I'm just putting this here by eyeball. And eyeball is usually pretty good because if you can't see it with your eye, then it must be pretty good. Now because it's not real sticky, I can just make little minor adjustments. Okay, I think we got it. Now the whole trick here is going to be, and it's still raining out there, just drizzling and foggy and everything, so I'm going to try to paint this in the back, just like I did yesterday. The whole trick in a nutshell here is I get this back masked relatively efficiently, and get the paint into the airbrush and get this sprayed. And I see one little tail hanging out here. I can get rid of that. And I would say overall that's that's about as good as I can get it. I just did this little test to see how close I got it by eye. It's pretty close. Pretty close. Anyway, we're ready to backmask. Did something just to see if this would be of any value. I put a piece of fine line tape right along the bottom to try to just make sure everything is as straight as it possibly can be. Another thing, I have to backmask everything carefully here, very carefully, because I don't want to have any of the gold overspray get anywhere on that Bentley black. I want that black to be just the way I envision it, as Bentley black, not sparkly black. But we'll get this done, and I'm looking forward to seeing this. So all that's left is to get some gold in there. Now what I thought I'd do, I'd be a little tricky here. In modeling, what we would normally do with, if this were a dope finish, we'd spray a airbrush a thin coat of clear, and that would seal the edges without going under the tape. I'm not sure I can do that, but what I'm going to try is, and I'll show this, what my master plan is. It's just an experiment, and then tomorrow when we do the other part, I'll know whether it's worth it or not, and for sure I'll know when I do the Kawasaki on the gas tank. So my little experiment is, this is, and I've marked it up what paint it is, 2019, always the date. And this is the paint I mixed the gold with. This is going to be for the wheels, and you see all the pigment is now at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is take off some of what is the clear, and it's ordinary clear. You can buy paint without pigment. Ordinary clear. And I'm going to spray that, one coat of that on, and then 2 coats of the gold from the little jar that I know has got the right amount of pigment in it. So this will be another little way of sealing the edges of the tape. Maybe. I don't know if that's going to be necessary, but it's worth a try since we're in the part of doing these little experiments. So what I did, I poured off a little bit of the clear. And of course this is our trusty, always reliable IWATA airbrush. And I want to get 1 coat of clear on there. And luckily for us, we'll be able to paint right by the door. I would never do that with a spray gun unless, you know, I don't know, like an emergency. This is not an emergency, but we can paint by that door as long as I have a fan on at all times. So that's only clear, and that's only there to seal the edges. This will be our little test for this. Because ultimately we want to be able to paint that word on the gas tank, that Kawasaki, really, really nice. So if that doesn't work, or if it's not worth doing, we'll just skip it on the next, skip that step. And what I try to do every day is try to learn something, and of course try to share it at the same time. Then it's a double win-win. So now I don't know tomorrow when I do the other side if this is going to be a worthwhile step or not. I won't know until tomorrow. But now while that's drying, I'll give it 15 minutes or so to dry. While it's drying, I can put this away. I'll mark that jar. And of course the main thing is always with this, shake it, and even after you think it's done, But boy, that gold, if you could only see that gold in real life, that is the most gold I've ever seen. Now the technique I want to do is I want to spray and go across the part and stop. Spray, go across the part and stop. I don't want to hit the gun while it's facing the lettering. I started it, stop. Start it. I minimize the chance that I'll get a big glob of something on it that way. And one more coat of gold on that, that'll dry. Take a break here. Just looking at it, yeah, that's going to be really, really nice. I don't want to get it too wet. I don't want it to start working its way under the tape. And again, because we're experimenting and we're in the learning curve, little by little, we're hoping we can figure out some stuff that'll be worth sharing. Well, that lettering came out better than I ever expected it would. That was, well, we're going to take the back masking off tomorrow, see how it really looks in the final form, try to card the edges. If it's a paintable day, get some clear on it. You know, I doubt we're going to have a paintable day. We're actually expecting snow. But anyway, we have the other one to do, and I hope this wasn't too boring to watch. Usually I can, this was boring for me, but knowing that it's done, and remember, the thing I really wanted, I didn't want to have anything on the bike that didn't match an exact match to the gold, because when we get done with the wheels are going to match the trim, which is going to match the lettering, and it's going to be a perfect match from the same bucket of paint. I hope. Everything on this job is I hope. But I hope you enjoyed watching it, enjoyed sharing it, and what can I say? This is what I enjoy in life. I don't have a tennis racket, I don't have a bowling ball, but I do enjoy working on these old motorcycles. So again, thanks for watching.